Hey everybody, Paul Turner here from thediscipleproject.net and paulturnerspeaks.com. Glad to be with you today. This is part 7 of our video book series right here, talking about Growing With by Kara Powell and Steve Argue. If this is your first time here, by the way, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for checking out the video. If you would like to start from the beginning, I'm going to put a little link right there and maybe one down in the description below as well. But you can get to that video if you want to start from the beginning. You don't have to, because these videos are all very specific to each of the chapters, so you don't have to worry about that. If you're a regular, by the way, thanks for coming by and sticking with it. Hopefully you're learning some things. Be sure to ask questions down in the comments below. In this chapter, we get into the really adulting part, right? We've heard that phrase, adulting. I'm having a hard time adulting today. You've seen those t-shirts or something like that. And it's really true. Kids are having a hard time adulting. And the book goes into why that is so. There's various statistics in chapter 7 that are very good. I'm not going to bore you with all of them, but like I said, if you buy the book, which by the way, there's a link down below if you'd like to buy the book, that explains some of these things as far as the relational aspect of it, which is always difficult for us as parents to see our kids struggle in that realm. But the term they use for adulting is this. We define adulting as a child's growth in agency as they embrace opportunities to shape the world around them. One of the suggestions that the book offers about creating these new opportunities and new expressions in relationships is by keeping a full fridge and an open door. One of the things I love to do as a youth pastor is simply open our home, right? To go ahead and say, look, young adult meeting, and say a meeting, it's just a gathering. And say, look, young adults, you're welcome to come and be a part and just hang out, once a month, twice a month on a Friday night. We're going to make sure that we're going to have food. Maybe we'll play some board games and maybe have a little Bible study. So, all that kind of packaged in there. But what we try to do is make our home a welcome place where anybody could come, where they can invite a friend, where they could just hang out, because there's so many of these young people that didn't have a place to go on a Friday night, and especially in a small town, where, there's not much going on. Your house may be that place, and it's a place where your kids can interact with kids in the church, and even other young adults where you get to meet them. If you make it once again, in some of the chapters, we talk about creating the warmth of relationships. This type of meeting can create the warmth of relationships where you're inviting, where you have an open house. We can always crash at so-and-so's house. We can always go over there. And you get to kind of see how, your kids make friends, how they're interacting with other people. Are there any red flags even in the relational sense of that? I want to take this now to you, the youth worker. Youth workers, can I tell you this? And parents, I really want to address both. Let me tell you something. As a pastor and having kids, not every church is conducive to building great relationships. There are just, there are kids that you're just not going to connect with. You're not going to meet. There has to be effort, yes, on the part of our kids, but sometimes it's just not relational. If you're from a different town or a different part of the United States, and you move to a church, listen, you're not always going to connect with people. And I know as a parent, you want those significant relationships to be in the church, and sometimes it's just not possible. It's just personality differences. It's how people handle stress. It's, they wind up having these, friends that they meet at church, but they're not their friends. They don't hang out with them. And once again, this is not everywhere. I'm just saying it's not always conducive. And that's why the need for exploration. That's why the need to open our homes. And that's why the need to make sure that, that we're always offering opportunities for our kids to get to know other people, even beyond the church. Let me offer you a quote here from the book that talks about the need to expand our kids' relationships. And it's by a psychologist, Meg Jay, who offers this advice to young people in their 20s concerning friends. She observed that emerging adults who stalled in their relational and vocational goals did not branch out, only maintained the same small group of friends, and missed out not only on new conversations, but also new opportunities. Encouraging our explorers to relationally extend their friend group seems to inspire new ideas and foster new possibilities. Now, as a parent, I can completely relate with that. Now, my daughter was very good at this. She could expand upon a relationship. My boys, not so much. They kind of hung with the same group or no group maybe. And so the advice given there is about expanding those relationships, finding new ways, new groups of people to get involved with, especially in their 20s. Because, the 20s can be an awfully lonely time. You're not in high school anymore. You're not around all these people that you're going to connect with every day. You're now working that job, or you're in school, and maybe you're busy with classes and things like that. Now, I will say this, that we went through this with my youngest son, and my youngest son, when he got to college, he has blossomed in this in regards to his relationships. He has now become very much an open possibility for him. He's discovering some of these possibilities with the friends that he's meeting in college. Once again, it's more difficult when you are a young adult and maybe you're working a job and things like that. You have your work friends, right? Maybe you have your church friends, but somehow they're not all somewhat integrated. Maybe you go, kids go out after, church and eat, or maybe after work they go and get a drink or whatever they do. But as a parent, you really do want to see your kids flourish. You don't ever want to hear your kids saying that they don't have any friends or they're alone. And as a youth pastor, it's super hard to manage these. It's super hard to communicate with a parent. And many times, this is why we lose kids, is because we can't make church kids be friends with one another, simply because it's a personality issue. It's not a spiritual issue. It's simply, that's the way this kid is made. That's the way this kid is made. And a lot of that then falls to the parent to build out in exploration. I know that makes the youth pastor cranky sometimes, because the youth pastor, well, why isn't so-and-so here? Well, they're not connecting. And at the end of the day, we have to do, as a youth pastor, what's best for that kid. If that parent sees that there are other relationships developing, sports team, we say, well, we get cranky about sports, but you know what? That's maybe where their best friends are. And of course, we want their best friends then to come to church, but sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes they have to build those. And as a parent, you understand that, because if a kid is not getting the kind of relational support, especially even as a young adult between 19 and 23, let's say, they're leaving the church because those relationships either couldn't be built or weren't built, and they're now with other things. And that really is no blame necessarily on the church. Sometimes it's just personality. And so I want to encourage you as a parent, always build out and create those opportunities, whether it's opening your home, whether it's helping, work with the youth pastor, right? Try to help them and say, look, where does my kid fit in here? How can I help them? How can I find their rhythm? There's many ways to do it. And ultimately, at the end of the day, and the book goes into more of this, as far as relational adulting, us being conscious as parents that we always need to kind of think, if this isn't working, if somehow my kid is not connecting at church, that's not necessarily the youth pastor's fault. That's not even necessarily the church's fault. That's not even necessarily the kid's fault that it's in there. Sometimes it's just personality. And as a youth pastor, we have to understand that these kids are growing up and becoming adults. We're trying to create every opportunity for them to build relationships. Parents, we're doing our best to try to connect them, whether it's in work or in service or various venues within the youth ministry, to help them find their place. And we're trying to help them connect with students. But what we can't do is we can't make people be friends. We just can't. It either happens or it doesn't happen. And we try and we work through it and, try to make the things happen that can happen. And we pray for God's grace to be upon that. So I would encourage you, as you're reading this, it goes into chapter 7, goes into things like relationships, having talks not just about the relational aspect, but girlfriends, boyfriends, whether your child is now trying to work through issues of LGBTQ or whatever it may be. The chapters go into those type of relational things and the kind of discussions we need to have. And I hope that you'll get the book. I hope that you'll try it out, read through the chapter, and offer your questions here. There's all kinds of things that our young people are going through in that adulting phase that they just need our help. They need the youth workers' help, and they need the parents' help to try to help navigate this. And the best possible outcome is parents and youth workers working together to see the best happen for that kid. So I hope you'll check out the book and be a part of that. If you have any questions, by the way, please go ahead and leave some questions and comments down below. Would love to hear your response to this. And if you, like I said, if you're a regular, thanks for hanging out. Appreciate you being here, being a part. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button. Let us know if you like the video and want more of them. And if you're a brand new viewer today, thank you for coming. I appreciate you checking out the video, and I hope that you'll hit the subscribe button and become a part of this community. So that's it for today, guys. I will catch you guys in the next video. We'll talk to you later.